Tonight, the Florida Marlins will try to do something they have not done all year long, and that is beat the Atlanta Braves in Sun Life Stadium. The Braves, a robust 68-49. The Fish have fallen, and right now they can't get up. They are 6 under. Can they stop the streak? Can they win a game? Can Jack McKeon get this club back on a roll? Hi, everybody. Rich Waltz along with Tommy Hutton. For the Marlins, the Braves have their number. I mean, the Braves might as well just put up Chief Nakahoma's teepee out in left field, bring the chop in here and everything. They've played like this is their home field.
Yeah, not only have they played well against the Marlins here, they're 5-0 against the Fish in this ballpark. They're 8-3 against the Marlins overall. In the 11 games, the Marlins have hit just 199 against Atlanta, and they have to go after a tough one tonight.
Okay, if you want to talk hitting, there's hitting, and then there's hitting when you really need it. And when the Marlins have really needed it on this homestand, they have not gotten it, especially against the Braves.
It's kind of like a good news, bad news thing. Yes, they've gotten some leadoff men on base. No, they've not hit very well with runners in scoring position, and they've left men on base. The problem they've had, they get that leadoff man on, they're not able to bring him around. Sometimes it takes clutch base hits, sometimes it takes a few breaks, and it also takes execution, and a few times we've seen that. And if it doesn't happen much more, there'll be more than execution.
All right, you mentioned a tough customer, and that's exactly what Tim Hudson is. Our pitching matchup tonight, the Braves roll out one of the game's greats in Hudson. It's our Coventry Healthcare of Florida starting pitchers. Anibal Sanchez has pitched well. He just hasn't had any support.
Well, they call him Huddy down in Atlanta, and he's 10-4 in his career against the Marlins. His last start was a 4-1 win against the Mets. And how about this? His last 6 starts, he's gone 7 or more innings.
Anibal Sanchez, of course, here's a guy, Tommy, that hasn't won a game since June 10th, but he's given his ball club plenty of opportunities to win. They just haven't come through for him.
You know, one of those opportunities was against Hudson, and he lost 5-1 in that game. Remember that 3-run homer he gave up to Dan Uggla. 0-4 over the last 2 months. A lot of no decisions. An ERA not all that bad at 4.70. Just needs a little more support.
Can the Marlins stop this? Can they stop Dan Uggla's streak? Can they get themselves on a little roll? You know, under Jack McKeon, the Marlins have had some nice winning streaks. We'll see if maybe they can start one tonight as the Marlins get set to take on these Atlanta Braves. Coming up on the show, Marlins in the community with power tools. How about that? And paint. This should be fun.
Life Stadium getting all set for game 3 between the Braves and the Fish here. Well, the Marlins front office volunteer program has done a great job enhancing areas in the community. The Marlins pinpointed Jackson Memorial Hospital, and yesterday they certainly made a difference there. More than 100 employees of the Fish Are You Down in Health program volunteering at the University of Miami Jackson Memorial Campus, working alongside Jackson Health System employees to beautify the campus, painting, pulling weeds. They did a wonderful job.
The Marlins are committed to making an impact on the field and off the field. And the Marlins Are You Then program is our way, as employees of this organization, to go out and truly make a difference. And today, we're here. We're going to be painting, helping with some of the landscaping, and truly beautifying the area so that patients who come here can have a better experience. Today, we're looking forward to really getting to know our neighbors. We have players coming later. They'll be visiting patients, interacting with the staff here, showing the patients who come to Jackson that the Marlins are here and that we are ready to step up when called upon.
This is a tremendous opportunity with our new neighbors, our new partners. We're just down the street, and we're part of this community. Anything we can do to try to better the community, we want to do everything we can. If it means we're shutting our offices down and we're out in the community to help, we're going to do that.
Well, this is a great opportunity to get out in the community. We started this IU Dawn program over a year ago, and a couple times a year we get the whole staff, we close the office, and for half a day we get out in the community en masse and break up into different groups and try to do different projects out in the community. So this is it today. Hopefully the weather will hold up, and then we'll all get back to work tonight and hopefully get a win.
And Jeff Conine, those volunteers included some of the Marlin players there yesterday.
Yeah, that was nice. They made a surprise visit to the Holtz Pediatric Children's Hospital down there. And you know what? I don't think a lot of fans realize how much the Marlins do in the community and how much the Marlins players are out there helping out the communities that they're temporarily living in, some of them, and they're making an impact.
Hey, congrats. Your program certainly helps out what happened to Joe DiMaggio. Huh? Tell us what happened.
Brand new Children's Hospital opened up at Joe DiMaggio in Hollywood just 2 weeks ago.
Brand new
for the state-of-the-art four-story facility that's really outstanding.
All right, you can play in Conine's golf tournament next year and help that cause as well. That's great stuff from the Fish. But up next, it's baseball time tonight. It's a good matchup. Anibal Sanchez has not won in 10 starts. The Marlins have won 3 of those 10. But 5 of those, he's allowed only 2 runs or less. We'll see if he's got his game on. He'll probably need it against tough Tim Hudson and hot Atlanta next.
Welcome to Miami. Michael Bourne standing in. Anibal Sanchez just split the plate with a fastball, and we're underway with baseball tonight. Sanchez pouring in strikes and working very quickly is out in front 0-2. Well, we've told you about Anibal Sanchez, who hasn't won a game since early June, but has pitched well enough to win. He's going after not only the Atlanta Braves, but also Tim Hudson. And Bourne lines one into left field, a base hit. Logan Morrison picks it up, and Bourne is aboard. Obvious base-stealing threat. Here comes the Braves batting lineup. Look at the record now, 68 at 49. It's brought to you by Warren Henry Automobiles. Bourne's on base. Martin Prado just absolutely killed the Marlins last night with 3 big RBI hits. Eric Hinsky gives Freddie Freeman a night off. Ugla is streaking at 30. Jason Hayward is in the lineup in right. Gonzo at short. David Ross behind the plate. Jose Constanza moves to left. And Tim Hudson will occupy the 9 position. And there is Prado. And last night, in a 4-3 win, Prado was absolutely the difference offensively. Solo homer in the 5th, RBI single in the 6th, and the game-winning hit in the 11th. Sanchez buzzes him. It's 1-0.
Boy, you can really see the difference. You and I have talked about it, that Michael Bourne has made in this lineup for Atlanta, hitting about 330, 340 now as a Brave in his 9 games.
The Braves before Bourne were very much a station-to-station team. They would have to string together 2-3 hits to get a run in an inning. Now with Bourne, whose on-base percentage is about 366 now, all they need to do is get him to first base, because he swiped league-leading 42 bases. It puts pressure on the starter. It gives guys like Prado sometimes a few more fastballs to hit. Not to mention, you get a Gold Glove center fielder as well, twice over.
So Bourne does make a difference in a lot of areas.
Yeah, we told you that stolen base stat at the start of the series.
That's a great graphic.
Bourne has almost stolen as many as the Braves' entire team from 08 on. And Prado does it again. He knocks one into center. Bourne, big turn, but Cameron got a good break on the ball. And the Braves have opened with single and single. Here come the Marlins defensively.
6 hits in the series from Martin Prado so far. There's the defense brought to you by Warren Henry, with Lomo and Cameron and Stanton in the outfield. Dobbs and Bonifacio, Meziga, Gabby back in the lineup, starting at first base. John Buck is behind the plate. Boy, what a big home run he hit last night.
Eric Hinsky getting the start at first base, as Freddie Freeman gets the night off. Sanchez with a breaking ball that misses away. Jerry Lane, the veteran, is behind home plate. Bob Davidson is down at first. Hunter Wendelstedt at second, and Brian Knight umpiring at third. Hinsky, of course, last year, his first year in Atlanta, got to play a lot more than I think anybody expected, and really came through with some big games, some big pinch hits. With the injuries to Chipper Jones and Martin Prado, the issues that the Braves had in left field, Bobby Cox last year really leaned on Hinsky, and he responded. And that's kind of happened again this year. And Freddie Gonzalez has run Hinsky out there a lot more than I think you would project at the start of the season.
I think since they've brought up Constanza, Jose Constanza, Hinsky's playing time has been diminished a little bit, but still getting the start tonight at first base. And when he doesn't start, always gives you that powerful left-handed bat off the bench. 33-year-old veteran.
3 pinch hit home runs last year. Sanchez misses high with a fastball, and this is not starting well, obviously, for Anibal Sanchez.
We have watched Sanchez for a number of years. And even if you think of this year, when he gets in trouble, it'll be an inning that gets that pitch count up. He'll throw 30, 40 pitches in one inning. He'll get out of that inning. Then we'll see him make better pitches, but it keeps him from going late into a game, and that's one of the big areas that he needs to work on. And right now he's building up a lot of pitches already. You saw Hinsky with the green light on 3-0.
If you're going to swing at a 3-0 pitch, that's the way to swing at a 3-0 pitch.
That's what you do. You don't foul it off the other direction. You jump on it like that.
So now it's 3-1. Got great speed with Bourne at second. Prado's at first. Sanchez making sure Bourne stays close to second.
It's a little tougher when you have a left-handed batter The runner can keep his eye on the second baseman. He knows the second baseman's a long way away. To get a little better lead, he just has to concern himself with the shortstop.
Bourne is running. Got a great jump. Hinsky a one-hopper. Sanchez knocks it down. Flips to Anibal Sanchez, who is there in time. A lot of moving parts to that play. The end result, the Marlins get an out, but the Braves gain 90 feet for both Prado and Bourne.
Another well-hit ball, but a great effort and a great knockdown by Gabby. Stays with it, and then the flip to Anibal. Good job on his part to touch the bag. And we talked about Gabby Sanchez, a .997 fielding percentage at first base. He's made just 3 errors all year.
Here is Dan Uggla. Uggla, of course, at 30 games. And infield singles in both games of the series to extend his streak. And that's a clean single to center. Uggla's at 31 straight. And the Braves are on the board with a couple of first-inning runs.
Well, it was Uggla who hurt Anibal Sanchez in Atlanta with a 3-run homer. And it doesn't take him long to hurt him right here with a hard single up the middle. 31 straight for Dan Uggla. No infield shot tonight. This ball was a clean single and hit hard.
So Uggla now joins Rico Carty atop the Atlanta Brave hit streak list at 31. And of course, painful for the Marlins to watch because Uggla made his mark here his first 5 years with the Fish. One of the most unlikely guys to have a hit streak, and you even ask Uggla that and he'll tell you. Some infield singles have extended it. Uggla's batting average during the streak right at .350. But as we pointed out last night, the important thing for the Braves is in the streak 12 home runs and providing that right-handed power that they so desperately wanted in the offseason. Sanchez to Hayward, who swings and misses.
Well, when they're healthy, and this is another thing, the Braves against the Marlins haven't missed Brian McCann at all. But when they're healthy, left-handed bat McCann, Hayward in the lineup, Chipper a switch hitter, so they were seeking that right-handed bat, and they got it in Dan Uggla.
They would like to get Jason Hayward going because right now it's been a real struggle in his second year in the big leagues.
And right now it's a real struggle for Anibal Sanchez. The velocity is there, but he's had no location here in this first inning.
In his 10 starts since his last win, the Marlins have scored a grand total of 14 runs for him. But he's done himself no favors here in the first inning. On the flip side, there are countless numbers that indicate you give Tim Hudson a 2, 3, 4 run lead and he'll lock it down for the rest of the game. Right now it's a 2-run lead for the Braves with Uggla at first. So Rico Carty and Dan Uggla, an unlikely pair at 31 consecutive games. Down goes Hayward. Sanchez gets a strikeout.
And located a fastball very well there. He had gone in. Look at how he pitched Hayward in and then goes away and just maybe catches that outside corner.
One of the strangest hitting streak stats that I saw today as Alex Gonzalez climbs in. The last 11 major leaguers to get to 30 games, and that includes Uggla, they've all been from the National League.
You have to go back a ways to find an American League guy.
The last 30-game hit streak for an American League player was Eric Davis when he was with the Orioles in '98.
But he was a National League guy.
Well, at heart he was, but at the time he was in Baltimore. One foul back to the screen. I mean, the names of guys.
That's some great names.
Andre Ethier, of course, has had the longest streak this year until Ugla tied it last night, and he just broke it with that single. Ryan Zimmerman in 09, Moises Alou in 07, Willie Tavares with the Astros, Chase Utley back in 06 with the Phillies, Jimmy Rollins in 05 with the Phillies, Pujols with the Cardinals, Luis Castillo here with the Marlins, Vlad Guerrero with the Expos, and Luis Gonzalez with the Diamondbacks. Along with Ugla, those are the last 11 big leaguers to have hit streaks of 30 games or more, and they were all National Leaguers. Is there any plausible reason for that?
No, that's just one of those things. I don't know if he'll get to 30, but Alex Gonzalez has a 10-game streak going.
He would be even more unlikely than Ugla to get to 31. Oh, 2. Sanchez misses out. To your point, partner, 21 pitches for Anibal Sanchez right out of the gate.
You know, you look back and you look at how this inning started, an 0-2 base hit by Michael Bourne started things for Atlanta.
That pitch misses away. And if Michael Bourne continues to be Michael Bourne, he certainly gives the Braves a different dimension. Can you tell me who the Braves have been leading off with over the last 2-3 years? Nate McLeod, a Jordan Schaefer,
a couple of center fielders.
I'll bet you Prado has led off a few times. That one rolled down the third base side. Heck, it was Jose Constanza who was a stand-in when the Marlins were in Atlanta. He was the guy that was leading off for the Braves in that series.
He led off 3 games. Jason Hayward led off 1 game this year.
Two coming. Gonzalez lines it into left center. Cameron on the run. Mike is there and makes the catch. But the Atlanta Braves are rolling and on the board. And Dan Ugla's streak is at 31. Checkers, little place, big taste. And by all year cooling, today's comfort, yesterday's prices. Marlins lineup. The Fish have dropped 6 in a row, and they're trailing 2-0 already. Warren Henry brings you the lineup. Emilio Bonifacio leads it off. Alfredo Amezaga, Greg Dobbs at third. Mike Stanton Gabby Sanchez, Logan Morrison. Then you got Mike Cameron, John Buck, who's homered in the first 2 games of this series. And Anibal Sanchez hits 9th. And it's Bonifacio who opens against Tim Hudson. Outstanding year for Hudson, already at 11-7. Traditionally has been tough on the Marlins.
Yeah, he has, and especially in this ballpark. 6-1 and a 2.79 ERA in this ballpark.
1-1. And it's 2-1.
Got to stay off that sinker, which Bonifacio did there. Always has good command of that sinker, and had a terrific month of July. Brought to you by Coventry Healthcare, scouting report.
He celebrated that great July with a terrific start in New York to open his August. His last time out, he beat the Mets. 7 innings, 3 hits, a measly 1 run. He pumps in a strike. It's 3-2. As we told you, if you give Tim Hudson a lead, he usually will bring the game home. Here's a 3-2. Bonifacio chopper. Gonzalez, who made the great play to finish the ball game in the bottom of the 11th last night, throws out Bonifacio.
See how the Atlanta Braves set up defensively tonight. Again, brought to you by Warren Henry. Constanza moves over to left field with Hayward playing in right. Prado and Conzo on the left side. Ugla and Hinsky. Eric Hinsky starting at first. And David Ross doing the catching, as I mentioned before. Brian McCann still on the disabled list.
Amezaga trying to bunt, fouls it back to the screen. And it's 0-1. Amezaga followed by Greg Dobbs. The Marlins, obviously without former Brave Omar Infante, at least for another week. Infante breaking his finger. All reports are that he's progressing. The Marlins are hopeful that he's ready to come off after his time on the 15-day DL is up.
Yeah, he's going to be ready. I saw him in the clubhouse today. He was happy about the progress. I think he swung the bat a little bit, and it feels pretty good that he'll be ready when his time is due off the DL.
Amezaga dribbles one up the middle. Oh, look at Gonzalez. Look at Alex Gonzalez.
Well, he loves to put on a show for his former teacher, Perry Hill. And that was a nice show. You know, he plans his play. This looks like it's going into center field, and he gets this all set in his mind. He's going to pick it, pop-up slide, spin, and fire. And that's just a thing of beauty, and it's something Alex Gonzalez has done his whole career.
Here's Greg Dobbs now. Dobbs 2 for 6 in the series with a solo homer, and Hudson misses down low. Having an outstanding year, hitting at 301. Really a bounce back season from a dismal year with the Phillies, where he struggled off the bench as a pinch hitter, a role in which he had flourished. Now Tim Hudson makes quick work on 11 pitches of the Fish in the first. 2-0 Atlanta.
Coventry Health. Marlins Baseball presentado esta noche por Coventry Healthcare de Florida.
In Miami tonight, the Atlanta Braves have presented Tim Hudson with a 2-0 lead. Anibal Sanchez goes to work in the second. Bottom third of the order, David Ross, Jose Constanza, and Tim Hudson himself.
Now we have, Rich, seen many times Anibal Sanchez regroup after an inning of the type he had in the top of the first. And he needs to do that here, and he has an opportunity. He's got the bottom third of the order.
Ross, of course, has been in place behind the plate with Brian McCann on the disabled list. He had 2 hits last night. Sanchez blows him away with a fastball. Second strikeout for the Marlins right-hander.
And a good start to get Ross on 3 pitches. And just to reiterate what I said in the first inning, it's not the stuff that's a problem. He has a live fastball in this one tonight. He's gotten up to 95 already a couple of times.
All right, here is Constanza. And if you followed the Braves or have watched our telecast either when we were in Atlanta for the first 2 games, Constanza slaps it, and that's going to be a base hit. That's a terrific play by a guy that has waited a long time and played a lot of minor league games to get to the big leagues and is making the absolute most of his opportunity.
One of the differences of a guy who has spent that much time in the minor leagues. I guarantee he's worked on this play. I guarantee he's done that a whole lot in all those 9 years in the minors. It's something that doesn't just come to you.
Let's see if Hudson tries to push him up with a bunt. Of course, the Braves were in a spot like this last night, and instead of bunting Constanza up, they just turned him loose, and he stole second. He's running. Buck's throw is not in time. And for Freddie Gonzalez, if it worked last night, why not do it again tonight?
A lot of times, if you're the hitter, Hudson's sharp enough. He squares to bunt. He sees Constanza take off with a pretty good jump. He's just going to take that pitch.
Now the count's 1-0 on Hudson. Hudson, a standout on the mound and with the bat at Auburn. His time in the American League with Oakland diminished his great offensive skills. Fouls that one back to the screen. He was dominant in Oakland. And the very good Tom Verducci article last week about old school general managers making a trade. He was talking about Kevin Towers and Billy Beane and how things have changed around the trading deadline. 2-1 coming to Hudson. A swing and a miss. Verducci points out what a lot of people have said, that the book, Michael Lewis's Moneyball, certainly pointed out how the A's were able to value something that at the time wasn't valued in baseball, the on-base percentage and all that, but a good deal of the book should have been dedicated to the big 3, because they're the guys that made the engine go in Oakland.
A lot of teams, if they'd have had those big 3, there would have been books written about them.
Zito, Mulder, and Hudson were the guys. And you talked about it when we were in Atlanta, how of the big 3, Hudson's been the guy that has kind of outlasted them all. Mulder, of course, retired. Zito struggling so much that the Giants have kind of hidden him on the disabled list.
Well, to the degree they kept him off their postseason roster last year, and Mulder's a broadcaster now, so Hudson's still going strong, and even after Tommy John surgery.
Hudson putting up a battle right now with Constanza at second. And Hudson laces it to left. Morrison cuts it off. Constanza will score easily. And it's 3-0 Atlanta.
Well, the inning that was right there for Anibal Sanchez to take charge of is going up in smoke after a 3-pitch strikeout to Ross, the infield base hit by Constanza, and then getting the count 3-2. Hudson knew he was going to get a fastball that had to have a lot of the plate, and he had a good swing.
That's going back to his War Eagle days at Auburn. And now here's Michael Bourne, who started it all in the first with a single.
With aluminum bat that would have gotten through the gap, too.
And a strike. Well, I guess it's appropriate that it's Hudson who delivers that run and makes it 3-0. Because with Hudson, as we pointed out, the 0-1 to Bourne, when he's given a lead, it's usually locked down. And the stat, and we know exactly where to look for it. It's in the Braves notes every time.
They always have it there.
He pitches. When he's given a lead of 3 or more runs in his career, he's 141-2 with 25 no decisions. How about that?
Basically, that tells you, number one, he has good stuff and he's a good pitcher, but it also tells you mentally he knows what to do when he has a lead. Really frustrating too. You're out there on defense and you see your starter struggling, and you also realize that as an offense you've had trouble scoring runs, so it's very frustrating.
And you've got a Braves team obviously that has a lot to play for, and certainly has looked like it in the 3 games of this series, the first 2 and in the first inning and a half tonight. Braves 8.5 behind the Phillies, actually 9 back, because the Phillies came back and won their game in fine fashion.
You know, the Braves may have been looking up at the scoreboard. The Phillies played a day game in LA today. The Dodgers took a 6-0 lead early in the game. And what was the final? 9-8. Phillies came back and won that game 9-8.
Hunter Pence playing a nice starring role in that. Sanchez misses away with a changeup, and now he's gone full on Bourne, and his pitch total is a whopping 41.
When we saw Sanchez in a good groove, when he had that month of May where he was 4-0 and a 1.66 ERA. How many times did we comment how successful his changeup was? It was a great pitch for him. Like that.
He gets Bourne with that changeup. So 3 strikeouts.
This is a terrific pitch, and not at all what Bourne was expecting.
Here comes Prado now, and Prado adding to a great series with a base hit in the first. 6 for 11 in this series. We pointed out last night that Prado against the Marlins is right around 300 in his career, but it just seems like once or twice a series he'll have a big hit, either a walk-off or a like last night, a game-winning hit in the last at bat. Braves, in fact, are the best in baseball at doing what they did last night. As you see Burke Badenhop up in the bullpen. The Braves have won 20 games in their last at bat, and that's best in the major leagues. You obviously get that with a walk-off, but you also get that on the road when you score with your last at bat as well, as they did last night.
Not at all what Jack McKeon was thinking. Freddie looking out there, he knows this pitcher's locked in. Jack, on the other hand, sees a struggling starter and has his bullpen busy already.
Prado takes a strike, and it's 3-1. Sixth season in the big leagues for Martin Prado. He's got another hit. Well, if he keeps this up, his career average against the Marlins won't be hovering around 300 anymore.
Well, remember last night, starting the game, it was in the 290s. Starting the game tonight, it was 309 and rising. His batting average doing a lot better than the stock market.
Yeah, and he's a Maracay, Venezuela native, and that's the hometown of Anibal Sanchez right now.
Well, you look at this series, first game of the series, Marlins starter went just 5 innings, Brad Hand. Last night, Clay Hensley, 5 2/3. Marlins haven't had a starter go 6 innings in this series. Prado's lifetime now against the Fish, 316.
Along those lines, while the starters haven't gone deep, the bullpen actually has pitched well in this series, including last night until the 11th. Hinske actually hit that ball twice, and it's 0-1. Marlins got good work out of Brian Sanchez. In fact, Sanchez has given Jack McKeon almost 4 innings of relief in this series.
The problem is the success of that bullpen diminishes the more you keep using it.
Hinske takes low. You heard Jeff Conine on Marlins Live tonight talk about Hinske in the postseason. World Series rings with Boston in 07, the Yankees in 09. Got to the World Series with the Rays in 08. Of course, the Braves were in the postseason last year, beaten by the Giants. Hinske pulls it foul. 1-2. And all points indicate that he's headed back there this year, should he stay healthy and the Braves stay on track as the wild card leaders.
And should the Braves keep their rotation intact, there was a note that Tommy Hanson had to return to Atlanta to undergo an examination on his right shoulder, and that would hurt if the big right-hander had to miss some time.
Jair Jurgens on the disabled list right now. Liner to right, and it's in the gap. Hinske's going to drive home Hudson. Prado's right behind him, and the Braves crack it open. 5-0.
Well, the move pays off for Freddie Gonzalez. He gives his rookie Freddie Freeman the night off. He decides to get the veteran Eric Hinske some at-bats. Slips him in that number 3 spot. Hinske responds with a booming double and drives in 2 runs. And drives Anibal Sanchez right out of this game.
Wow, this is a real blow to the Fish. Sanchez not even getting through the second inning after the bullpen has been taxed heavily on this homestand. Short night for Anibal Sanchez. 5-0 already for Atlanta. And Burke Badenhop comes out of the bullpen. He's greeted by Dan Uggla.
And now you have to rely on your bullpen to give you 7+ innings in this game.
Uggla extended the hit streak. 31 games now. 2-run single in the first. Badenhop's breaking ball misses away. It's 2-0. Atlanta has 5 runs on 7 hits. Hinske driving home 2 with a double. Uggla has another hit. Hinske will be held. Morrison up with the ball. And Dan Uggla's tear continues.
Well, understatement to say he's locked in. You have a 31-game hitting streak. Moves those hands. It's kind of like the pitch. He didn't hit it as hard, but remember the pitch he got the infield hit on last night? He really brought his hands in and got to it quickly. And that's something that he's always been able to do with that quick stroke.
Here's Hayward now. He struck out back in the first. Hayward had an inauspicious appearance last night. He came in a important spot in top of the 11th after a leadoff walk to pinch hitter Eric Hinske. He was pinch running. He got picked off. And even despite that, the Braves ended up scoring a run that inning.
A couple of ways to look at that. You know things are going badly when you're the Marlins. You're able to do that. And then you can't win the game, and you know things are going well when you're the Braves, and that happens and you do win the game.
Backdoor breaking ball. Hayward has been caught looking twice tonight, but it's all Atlanta. reproduced or retransmitted in any form. Accounts and descriptions of the game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Marlins. Don't know that the Marlins would want to give their consent to have this one disseminated, so to speak, whatever that means. Because right now it's been a disaster. Tim Hudson's on the mound.
Kind of don't want to give the stamp of approval for this one.
He's got a 5-0 lead. Mike Stanton leads it off, and he takes strike one. Stanton, as Jack McKeon has pointed out, on this homestand in particular, has been pitched very carefully. In the 2 games against the Braves, Stanton has drawn 5 walks.
Yeah, to Mike's credit, he's been very patient and accepted those walks.
Sunday against the Cardinals, he drew 3 walks. So you see the current homestand, the on-base percentage way up there. And Tim Hudson elevates a fastball and strikes him out.
Well, Mike's on-base percentage since the All-Star break is over 400, a little over 400.
Here's Gabby now. Gabby got the night off, at least to start with last night. Came in, did have an at-bat in the ball game, and hit a liner out to center that Michael Bourne ran down. Was also intentionally walked.
Little history. He's matched up 19 times with Hudson, 4 for 19.
Gabby drives that ball to left center field. Constanza out there, and he makes the catch. All year cooling brings us the weather. 80 degrees. There's your August rainfall total in case you were worried about that. And overcast is the forecast tonight. Morrison now, who didn't look comfortable playing last night. Actually, he looked comfortable at first base. He did not look comfortable at the plate.
Yeah, I asked him how he felt at first. He said, yeah, things were a little quick, but if you think about it, he didn't get a play. He didn't get a ground ball. He had some throws. So he actually had a pretty easy game for defense at first. But you're right about his ABs. He needs to get back in that comfort zone a little bit.
Still has the stitches in his leg. And his history against Hudson isn't pretty. The Marlins' history against Hudson isn't pretty. That is vintage Logan Morrison. Fastball outside part, and he drives it over the shortstop's head.
And it's also vintage left-handed swing, how to hit a sinker ball. To stay back, let the ball get to you, and get it into left center. Don't roll over on it. Don't hit that ground ball. That's nicely done by Lomo. Snaps an 0 for 7 that he was working on. Hitting just 180, Logan Morrison, since the All-Star game.
Here's Mike Cameron.
So there are a lot of areas.
He's going from the windup for some reason. Hudson had a brain freeze. And Morrison heads up, steals the bag.
I'm glad you said brain freeze. I may have said something else. But good instincts by Lomo to realize that as soon as he sees him rock back in the windup.
Hudson's thinking to himself, I'm up 5-0. Things are going. Oh yeah, there was a guy at first.
And even if he realizes it, he can't stop.
No, once you start that windup, you're dead. And you saw Hinsky was holding Morrison on at first. It's a nice way to pick up a stolen base. Want to know the count to Mike Cameron.
I lost my train of thought, but now I have it back. It's been collective. If you go up and down the lineup, numerous hitters in the Marlins lineup have had struggles, especially since the All-Star break. starting pitchers haven't been giving innings and good innings. The bullpen at times has been good. So it's been a collective team effort.
Cameron takes down low. The count's 3-0. Mike has the most at-bats of any Marlin against Hudson, 61. See John Buck on deck. And in his career, hitting .279, 3 homers. Three-one coming.
Little cutter, takes a little bit off his fastball. We've talked about his tremendous sinker. Hudson's one of those guys that'll throw you that BP fastball. He'll cut the fastball. So just with the fastball, he can give you 3 different pitches.
Cameron a liner to center, and it's right at Michael Bourne. Mike Cameron's had like a 3-week line drive filled right at guys kind of run. By the Atlanta Braves. And Burke Badenhop on the hill. Alex Gonzalez, David Ross, Jose Constanza for the Bravos, who are trying to sweep the Marlins, which would be loss number 7 in a row for the Fish. One of the streakiest teams in baseball over the last 2 months have the Marlins been. Gonzo lined out to end the first, out to center field. An inning and 2/3, 52 pitches, 5 runs and 7 hits for Anibal Sanchez tonight. And the count's 0-2.
Yeah, you can think of some other streaky teams. The Phillies have been pretty streaky.
Well, in one direction.
In one direction.
Gabby has it and steps on the bag. Badenhop gets the first out of the 3rd inning. The Phillies game today, you were talking about the comeback. The Dodgers at one point had a 6-0 lead, and the Phillies came roaring back to take a 9-7 lead and held on at the very end. Ryan Howard and Hunter Pence homered as they erased that 6-0 Dodger lead.
A rare poor outing for Vance Worley.
Phillies have won 12 of 13, 9-1 on that road trip. David Ross takes inside.
Pirates beat the Giants.
How about that? It's good to see the Pirates get back up on their legs and start to play better baseball after Clint Hurdle's club took a nosedive. The Marlins know that feeling. They had that awful June and are seemingly time warped back to June here this past week. 9-2 Pittsburgh beat San Francisco. Jeff Karstens beating Jonathan Sanchez. Andrew McCutchen homered. Central Florida zone. That one into the gap in left center field. Cameron will pick it off the wall. And David Ross has a 1-out double. Up comes Jose Constanza. Friday night as the Giants arrive, it's a Fiesta Friday brought to you by Jiffy Lube. And it's Bark at the Park Part 2. So, first of all, it's $6 hot dogs. Or, excuse me, $6 hot dogs. What am I saying? I'm all confused with the all.
You're thinking of the Dachshund dog.
Well, it's the all-you-can-eat seats night as well, right? On Friday night. So there's 2 promotions going on.
All you can eat dog food.
No. Club level seating. It's all you can eat hot dogs, soda, popcorn, all of that. Now, Bark at the Park, which would be the second half of the promotion. The tickets are $6 for the dogs and for kids, and just $12 for the adults. And of course, the dogs will have their own section where you can sit with all the canines. There'll be Scooby snacks. See, that's all you can eat.
There you go.
Thank you. 305-626-SAVE or go to marlins.com. But Bark at the Park is a great fundraiser for the local Humane Society. And the Marlins, and we've seen probably, 4 or 5 other Bark at the Parks at other ballparks?
Yeah, the one that surprised me was the one, it was well attended. Not as highly attended as we have here, but the one in L.A. But I believe it was $25 or $28 for a dog to get into the game.
Yeah, they did not have.
I think the reason it was so high, they gave each dog a little transistor radio so they could listen to Vin Scully.
Huh. Wow, it must be 5-0 in the third. Time call. John Buck's on his way out.
Which is what so many fans used to do years ago when there were transistor radios at Dodger Stadium.
Anyway, local Humane Society on Friday night. If you've got a dog and you want to come to the ball game, your ticket would be $12, and the dog's ticket would be $6. And all the money benefits the local Humane Society. Marlins, I think last year, one of the Bark at the Parks had close to 1,500 dogs.
I was going to say about 1,500, yeah.
In L.A., the turnout was, I want to say, maybe 300. Chopper over the middle. I don't think they're going to get Constanza here. And Amezaga has to eat the baseball. And Jose Constanza has his second infield hit of the ball game.
What a different dimension he gives the Braves. You and I were talking to Freddie about his reasoning the few games that he had Constanza hit 9th and he had the pitcher hit 8th. And really, when it was all said and done, he said there really, in his mind, isn't a big advantage one way or the other. It just happened a couple of times he tried it.
Well, anybody in the National League that is a manager has seen Tony La Russa do it. I think one of the telling facts is, and I haven't looked this up to document it, but I heard someone say it the other day that the Cardinals have never done that in a postseason game.
I heard the same thing, yeah.
Tony La Russa hasn't hit the pitcher 8th in a postseason game. That one pops out of Buck's glove, and an ugly night gets uglier as David Ross comes across.
To extend that even further, Rich, an ugly homestand gets uglier.
It's 6-0. It's being called a wild pitch.
Well, I think this could be changed because it looked like it was a ball that was catchable. It looked like John Buck was crossed up. Breaking ball, he had to go to the backhand, but did not skip in the dirt.
And you got a Hudson up there who drove in a run with a single in the second. Badenhop throws a strike. Misses, and it's 2-1. You know, the Giants are headed in this direction after hosting Pittsburgh today. And with that loss, if the Arizona Diamondbacks can win their second straight against Houston, Arizona will be in first place.
Yeah, they're hanging in there, the D-backs.
That's why, you know, everyone says, the Braves are the wild card leaders and pencil them into the postseason. You get a sense around the Braves clubhouse that they don't feel that way. They understand that the Phillies have the big lead, but they also understand, the Braves do, that the Giants and the Diamondbacks are lurking. That if both of those teams have strong finishes, they could inch closer to the Braves.
And I also think that it's a reason you play 162, that for the awards we were talking, and we have been, about potential managers of the year. Now you may want to lean a little more with Kirk Gibson with the fall that the Pittsburgh Pirates have taken. I mean, everybody was ready to give it to Clint Hurdle when the Pirates were right there around first place. But boy, now you have to think about Kirk Gibson, the job he's done with the Diamondbacks.
See, those wild card standings can't be right because Arizona's not in there. Right? Am I missing something?
Well, because they've actually gone into first place with the Giants losing.
Right, but they're tied going into play tonight,
okay.
right?
They're tied with, so they would be where San Francisco is.
Right. Okay. Yeah. That makes sense.
I'm still trying to sort out the all-you-can-eat park at the park night.
Yeah. I mangled that one pretty good. That's one of those plays.
I would say go to the website. It might be a little more explanatory.
That's one of those plays as a former shortstop where you kick it and then you throw it away.
Oh, everything happens. Yeah.
Here's the 0-1. And it misses outside. It's a ball and a strike. Here's the West. There's Arizona. I guess they are percentage points ahead, so the computer popped them out of the wild card and into the lead of the West. The computer's smarter, obviously.
Don't ever question the computer.
Than us. Don't ever question the crack staff. Bourne gets a piece of it. I'm with you on the Kirk Gibson manager of the year right now. And Kevin Towers was singing his praises. And that's one of the things that Towers said sealed the deal as far as him having Gibson back for this year. Swing and a miss. Badenhop strikes out Michael Bourne. 6-0 Atlanta. car. By the all-new Chevy Cruze. See your local South Florida Chevy dealer. And by FPL. FPL is constantly working to make its system stronger, smarter, cleaner, and even more efficient to offer reliable service today for years to come. Visit FPL.com to learn more. Gorgeous sunset. Man, look at that. Not so pretty inside Sun Life Stadium for the Marlins. John Buck takes a strike.
Be nice down at the southernmost point, Key West, sitting out on a nice chair, watching that sunset. As happy hour winds down.
That one pulled foul. See, you know, some broadcasters will sit in the stands and broadcast a game. Why don't we go to Key West and call a game from Key West?
I'm in.
Big fruity liquor drink in front of us. That would harken back to the days of the 50s and 60s when broadcasters used to drink. When they
most of the
broadcast
sponsors,
games.
most of the sponsors were major beer distributors.
Absolutely, that was almost a tradition in baseball. Here's the 1-2. Buck got a piece of it, and since Ross held it, that would be a strikeout for Tim Hudson, who has a pair of strikeouts. And here comes the hopper.
And I might say it could spice up some of the broadcasts, and who knows?
Or we could remember a couple years ago when the Marlin players test drove the beer goggles.
Yeah,
remember that, or where they put the beer goggles on, which would simulate what it would be like to have so many beers. We could do an inning with the beer goggles on.
The only problem, I'd have to make sure that particular day would be a night that Bill Wadlick drives home.
Here's the 0-2. Badenhop swings and misses. And so Hudson, as we told you, when you give him a lead, it's usually going to end up bad news for the team that is down 3 runs. Lead of 3 or more. He's 141 and 2 with 25 no decisions. Top of the order, second time through. Bonifacio. Marlins have a Logan Morrison base hit to show for this ball game so far.
We talked about at the beginning of the game, the Marlins 3-8 against Atlanta this year, and hitting below 200 against the Braves as a team in those 11 games.
And as we've touched upon, you can see the rain starting to fall here. As we've touched upon, you're going to face the Braves and the Phillies 36 times this year. And the Marlins haven't played well against the Phillies, and obviously they haven't played well against the Braves. And Hudson's career numbers against the Marlins, he's trying to go to 11-4. This is his 22nd start. As you would expect, a career ERA of under 3. 2-2 on Bonifacio. A chopper and a nice play at third by Martin Prado as he throws out Bonifacio. 1-2-3 go the Fish in the third. who holds the Marlins record for most hits in a season against the Braves. Are we looking at him?
Yeah, you talked about how Dan Uggla always had success against Atlanta. I always like to throw Miguel Cabrera in an answer like that.
Well, Louis Castillo would make some sense. Martin Prado. Wonder who has the record on the flip side of that. Who has the record for the most hits against the Marlins in a year?
Chipper Jones would be a good guess.
Yeah. Maybe a Chase Utley. Mezga gets a nice hop and throws out Prado. Here comes Hinsky. Marlins are headed to Colorado and then to San Diego after this homestand. You got the Giants coming in Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Some good news out of Colorado, and the pitcher Juan Nicasio making progress, but still remains hospitalized after suffering that broken neck, and he was hit in the head by a pitch, breaking the C1 vertebrae.
Over the Cardinals had like some good news and bad news. They got Yadier Molina back. He's finished serving his suspension. Remember, they have that series in Milwaukee. They lost last night, extra innings for the Brewers. But Matt Holliday not in the lineup. Injured his back a little bit in the weight room.
Here comes Uggla, who was 2 for 2. Our Toyota trend involves Uggla now with Rico Cardi. Always good to see Roland Office on the show.
And Rico Cardi was a big guy. He could run pretty well, though. But as Cookie said last night, for a big guy, he was a great two-strike hitter. Look at his average during the 31-game streak, 451. Roland Office over 400 in his 29-gamer.
Ball 1 to Uggla. By the way, for that 24-year-old Rockies pitcher, Juan Nicasio, doctors expect him to make a full recovery. He had a plate and 2 screws inserted into his neck. But it sounds like the doctors feel like he will be able to get back and play baseball again.
That's good news. All right, the Braves with the most hits in a year against the Marlins. Francoeur and Chipper Jones in separate years had 26 hits. But the all-timer
against the Marlins?
Against the Marlins in a single season in 2005.
Hold on, 2005.
35 hits against the Marlins in 2005.
Go on, Jimmy Rollins.
Jimmy Rollins.
That was I believe, a year shy of Rollins' MVP season? Was he MVP of 06?
I think 06 he was MVP. He had 427 in that year against the Fish in 05. Hopper trying to have a 1-2-3 inning, get the first 2 outs, trying to put away Dan Uggla.
Down 3-2 to Uggla. You saw Hayward on deck. Uggla, a ground ball, and the Marlins have retired him. Uggla 2 for 3 now on the night. Going to the bottom of the 4th. Braves up 6-0.
when he started this streak, he was hitting just 173. He prior to that at bat at his average up at the highest it's been all year, thanks to this 355 run during this streak, up at 223. Probably dropped 1 point down after the out. He ties Rico Carty. Who is Rico Carty? Well, he's 71 years old now in the Dominican Republic. Rico Carty broke in 64, and what a rookie year he had. He had 330, second in the National League only to Clemente. When the Braves won the West in 69, he had 342. How about the year he had when he set that mark? He hit 366. He led the National League in hitting when he had that 31-game streak for the Atlanta Braves. He also was a pretty good home run hitter. He had over 200 home runs in his career. Played for 7 teams, and even at the age of 38, he cracked 31 homers and 99 ribbies for Toronto and Oakland. And Tommy, I'm assuming you caught him certainly in his maybe NL days, or caught a game or two. He was quite a player for the Braves and many other teams in his career. Wound up with Toronto and Oakland at the end of his career.
Yeah, saw him play. I played against him when he was in Atlanta at 72, and then, believe it or not, in Toronto in 78, we were teammates before I got traded over to the Montreal Expos. He was 38 years old. They'd had some bad knees, couldn't run at all, but could still hit.
Tim Hudson with a 6-0 lead, working on Alfredo Amezaga, and Amezaga strikes out. And Hudson has been coldly efficient out there after the Braves jumped on the fish. 2 in the first, 3 in the third, added a run in the third. All right, let's answer this AT&T trivia question. We both suspect it's Uggla. Maybe a decoy from the crack staff. It was. Miguel Cabrera, 29 hits in 05. Good catch by Tommy Hutton.
Like to throw Miggy out there every once in a while.
By the way, took a peek at Jimmy Rollins' season in 05, and he holds the record for the most hits by an opponent of the Marlins against the Marlins in the course of a season. Rollins was the MVP in 07. One to Dobbs.
Now we were a year off for Jimmy.
We thought it was 06. It's pretty good in 06, but even better. There you go. Look at that. That's good work by our camera crew. Dobbs cranks that one into the triangle. Bourne runs it down. And there are 2 outs here in the 4th inning.
Tough to get one over the head of Michael Bourne. Well hit ball by Greg Dobbs.
Giants series is a Friday, Saturday night, and then Sunday and Saturday night is a Baker Concrete Super Saturday, as you see Stanton climbing in. Got a Sunday afternoon game as well, and a chance to see one of the dominant pitching staffs in baseball. Matt Cain on Friday, Tim Lincecum will go on Saturday, and Ryan Vogelsong will go on Sunday. RKM and Ken Y, the Baker Concrete Super Saturday postgame concert. Stanton lofts that one foul and out of play. 1-877 Marlins, or go to marlins.com.
I was thinking about it too. We saw the pair sitting together there, the Rollins, the Cabrera, Phillies, and the Marlins. Phillies in town for a Labor Day weekend series, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th of September.
Stanton pulls that one foul. 0-2. Been a quiet night for the Marlin Bats. Just a Logan Morrison single. That's it. Well, a lot of the injured Marlins were here today because of the team picture. Josh Johnson had a chance to talk to Chris Coughlin today. Good to see him.
Talked to John Baker and Scott Cousins, also in the house.
Cousins, of course, with the back injury. Baker still returning from Tommy John. The bat's great. Still the throwing part, and that's obviously with Tommy John surgery. Jeff Conine talked about that a few weeks ago as a position player going through it. Very different than a pitcher. And I think very different for a catcher than say Conine as an outfielder or a first baseman. Down goes Stanton. Tim Hudson and the Braves shutting out the pitch. What's the most annoying thing about the Braves? Jason Hayward hits a fly ball to the left. Logan Morrison at the track. Lomo making that catch. Well, I don't know, Tommy. Do the Braves annoy you?
No,
they don't annoy me.
Bobby Cox never annoyed me. Love seeing Bobby Cox. Tomahawk Chop, maybe a little bit.
I like Chipper Jones a lot.
Chipper Jones doesn't annoy me at all. Calling it Hot Atlanta? Heck, it's hot when we go there in the summer.
I don't mind the Braves way either. They develop,
and I don't think they have a smugness about it. So who came up with this poll?
I don't know.
I think if I had to vote for anything, I would say the Tomahawk Chop.
I don't mind that either.
Yeah, well, it bothers me.
You're just being smug. There's a breaking ball outside to Alex Gonzalez. No, we need to read a disclaimer after that poll question. We did not come up with that as announcers.
I think people are going to associate that with us.
Yeah, I mean, like, because we're driving the bus right now. We're driving the bus, and that was on the side of the bus. Counts 1 and 2.
And in the meantime, the Hopper doing his usual professional job out there to try to get as many innings under his belt as he can to help out the bullpen, to pick up the starting staff, to pick up Anibal Sanchez, who lasted just an inning and 2/3 tonight.
Morrison and Cameron. And Cameron is there to make the catch. David Ross now. Ten hits for the Braves. Marlins have just the one. Good fastball up and in. Hopper is like he's like the cleaner in Pulp Fiction. You know, I mean, when things go wrong, really wrong, Hopper comes in, fixes everything, gets a couple comebackers. The problem is you don't necessarily want to see him.
That's a great analogy.
You don't want to see him in the second inning or the second scene of the movie.
Yeah, it's a great analogy because as much as you want to see the Hopper, you don't want to see the Hopper.
Right. As much as you love the Hopper, you just don't want to see him.
You'd rather he stay down the bullpen.
Yeah. Three and two. But he is a valuable guy, and there's a lot of managers that would love to have him on their staff. A guy that can give you multiple innings, can come in and get you ground balls. Durable. And he walks Ross. Jose Constanza now, he's had a busy night. Now, Constanza had that great dash up the box, slap at the ball, and chop it over the mound base hit in the second. He did almost the exact same thing in the third, except he didn't run up in the box. It was just a little more garden variety chopper. And it will be interesting to watch to see if and when he cools down.
Well, the Marlins held him hitless last night. I think one of the things we saw, you get ahead, you can get him to chase because he's not going to draw a walk. And the problem is he has so much speed. When he chases a ball, if he just chops it in the ground, he can beat it out for a base hit.
One and two. The one, I guess, when you look at the Braves as a whole, the one thing that is a little bit, I don't want to say awkward, but maybe an issue is it's another left-handed bat, and they got a lot of them. Especially in a division where they're trying to catch the Phillies, who have two dominant left-handed starters. Thus the importance of Uggla getting hot and Chipper staying healthy. Hopper gets a ground ball out. It's 6-0 Braves. And Beard, Martin Prado just keeps on keeping on. 2 more hits for Prado, 2 more runs scored. Look at the series he's had. Just as Martin Prado gives the Braves the edge, you can keep your edge with Just for Men mustache and beard.
Boy, a tip of the cap and a happy birthday to Marlins PA announcer Dick Sanford. We just got a visit from the Mermaids, a cake. There's a fire alert after he blew out the candles, though, I'll have to say.
Notice how he hasn't announced Gabby Sanchez as the hitter.
Dick, get back to work.
He's distracted. With good reason. But Gabby is the hitter. It's the bottom of the 5th. Logan Morris and Mike Cameron will follow. Tim Hudson has given up just 1 hit.
But ever the professional that he is, he was learning phonetically how to pronounce the Mermaid's name.
Did he learn phonetically how to pronounce the new Braves pitcher's name?
I hope so. We'll go down and tell him if not. But Arodys Vizcaíno.
Vizcaíno added. The Braves earlier today released Scott Proctor, the veteran right-hander. 2-1 coming to Gabby. And it's up.
Also read today concerning the Cardinals, because we just saw them, a hard-throwing right-hander, Lance Lynn. He's going on the disabled list and may miss 3 weeks to the rest of the season. Pitched last night in Milwaukee, an inning plus, and he had to come out of the game with a side injury.
Did they have obliques in your day? I mean, back.
No, it was just called a rib pull or a rib strain.
Milwaukee and St. Louis tied 1-1 in the bottom of the 2nd in St. Louis. Milwaukee with an extra inning win last night in St. Louis. Foul back and out of play. Cubs and Nationals are tied at 1 in the 3rd. Houston and Arizona about to get going. Padres have jumped the Mets 5-1. That's in the 6th inning. High chopper. Prado cuts in front and makes that play. Martin Prado is a very good defensive player wherever you put him. We've seen him at second a lot. He'll play third base when Chipper gets a night off. And even at left field, he's a good left fielder.
He looks at home wherever you put him. And certainly at the plate when you put him there.
Here's Morrison. He singled in the 2nd. About the only amusing thing in tonight's ball game was after Morrison singled, he was at first, and Tim Hudson, instead of going from the stretch in his first pitch to Mike Cameron, who follows Morrison, he went for the windup, and Morrison easily stole second. He was heads up. That's when it's okay to run when you're down 5-0.
Yeah, trust me, I've seen guys not go because they weren't heads up when a pitcher's done that. So regardless of the score, the alert base running of Lomo got him his 2nd steal of the year.
That one is fouled back and out of play. All the numbers we've talked about for Hudson when he gets a lead and what he's done this year, his career numbers. He is 3rd among active pitchers in terms of winning percentage. His winning percentage is .652. Roy Halladay at .670. Johan Santana at .658. Off the end of the bat, Gonzalez makes it look easy out there, and there are 2 outs. Halladay in his career now is 184-90. That's his record. Hudson in his career is 176-94. Hudson's career ERA is 3.41. And Santana's got 133 wins.
There's a number I saw the other day concerning Roy Halladay. The last 29 games that he's been on the mound, and the Phillies have gotten 3 runs or more. The Phillies have gone 29-0.
How low does that bar go for the Hall of Fame for a guy like Halladay or even a Hudson? Halladay's been more dominating than Hudson.
I think with Halladay, when you start throwing in Cy Young awards and all that stuff and postseason stuff, postseason no-hitters and things like that, a perfect game during the regular season, that carries a lot of weight.
So if he ends up with, say, a career 230 wins?
Yeah, I don't even think a guy like him with all of his credentials, I don't think he has to get to 250 wins. Because then you start putting him in the category, maybe not in the of a Sandy Koufax, who had all that bunched into a 6 or 7 year period. Halladay's even made it a longer stretch.
And of course, when you measure any pitcher from this era, and for all but maybe the last year or so, they've been pitching in an era where ballparks got smaller, players got bigger,
hitters got bigger, and in a case like Hudson, and even for Halladay for a number of years in the American League,
performance-enhancing drugs obviously factored in. 3-2. Cameron lines it in the left center field, and that's a base hit. I think a guy that may be a good test to that would be a Pedro Martinez. Because so much of the focus for pitchers in the Hall of Fame as far as starters was the 300 wins or get close to 300 wins. JM Lexus presents leaders of the game. There's your active career win leaders.
I think another thing that to me would stand out in a case of a Pedro Martinez and a Roy Halladay, we're talking about him, is dominance. And Halladay's been the dominant pitcher. Pedro was the dominant pitcher for a period of time.
Yeah, Pedro 219 wins, 100 losses. He was .687 in terms of career win percentage, which is better than Halladay.
And I think the interesting thing will be, Rich, when Pedro goes in, and I think he will, that'll open the door for others who don't have 300 wins.
Buck breaks his bat, slow roller to Gonzalez, who throws him out at first base. So let's go to the 6th, shall we? Glad you're with us tonight. 6-0 Atlanta. On the field in a 6-0 ball game in the top of the 6th inning. Brian Peterson is in the ball game as part of a double switch. Peterson enters the game, and he is in center field. And Mike Dunn, the Marlins would like to see Dunn pitch a lot longer than last night, where he threw one pitch and hit a batter.
Well, again, with the double switch, hoping to get a couple of innings out of Dunn, because Peterson will lead off the inning. He's batting in the ninth spot. Dunn bats in Cameron's.
Tommy, it's coming not as fast as we would like, but checking out the shots of the new ballpark on the webcam tonight, there were some really cool shots during sunset. You can go to marlins.com/ballpark and get to the webcam, and there's a time frame where you can go back to sunset, take a peek at that. But we're getting closer and closer. We're down to 18 on the countdown wall. 18 games left here.
Yeah, guy looked familiar who pulled down number 19.
Here's Hudson. And he takes a strike. Tim Hudson, Michael Bourne, and Martin Prado. Hudson, an RBI single, scored a run in the second. Short night for Anibal Sanchez, just an inning and 2/3. He gave up 5 of the 6 runs. 3 1/3 innings for Burke Badenhop. And Hudson takes a strike. We were talking about Hudson and modern day pitchers and how they would stack up in terms of the Hall of Fame.
It's a great discussion.
Pedro Martinez won 3 Cy Youngs. He was second in the Cy Young voting twice, third once, fourth another time.
He had some of those years where the whip was pretty good too, and it wasn't really a statistic when he pitched.
Hudson swings and misses. All right, here's the our special guest that tore down the number tonight.
I thought he looked familiar.
Joining us tonight
Niner.
around the ballpark, please welcome Jeff Conine. He wore number 19 during the 1997 World Championship year. And when he tears that number down, you'll see number 18 that he wore with the Marlins in the 2003 World Championship season. All right, Niner, help us count down and tear that number down. How about a nice round of applause for Mr. Marlin, Jeff Conine.
There you go. Michael Bourne's at the plate with a strike on him.
Good form by Niner.
Bourne tonight has struck out twice and has singled. Who will be the last person to tear down the number on closing day? You and I have both had the privilege to tear down a number.
Yeah, we have. Who will throw out the first pitch in the new ballpark?
There's another part to that question as well. Here's the 2-1 pitch. Who will throw out the ceremonial first pitch, and who will throw out the first real pitch?
That's even more important.
Will Josh Johnson be back and healthy to take the ball? Will the Marlins acquire somebody in the offseason that is a front of the rotation guy? Peterson is there, and he makes the catch.
Had a chance. Of course, it's always a one-way conversation when you have a conversation with Billy the Marlin. But to revisit one of the emails or tweets we got last night concerning Billy and what he might be wearing. And I gathered from our conversation that it'll be pretty much the same with the exception of color changes, which the ball club will have a new look with uniforms.
So Billy essentially will get a new wardrobe.
Yeah, he was happy about that. He's got to maintain his weight over the winter. It's always hard for Billy. Banquets, rubber chicken.
You mean Billy's not a vegetarian? That's just wrong. Prado, another big night against the Marlins. Another big series. He's got 7 hits. He's 2 for 3.
Billy loves sushi, too.
We had a question last night that, there are, over the course of the game, we get hundreds of emails, the truck does, and they send us up to our computers a variety of questions. Sometimes when you have multiple questions on the same subject, you just get 1 or 2 from that subject. We had one we didn't get to. I wanted to throw out there tonight. And that was a low strike. It's 2-2. Old-timer game. Do you think the Marlins, when they move into the new ballpark, will have a Marlins old-timer game?
Well, it's interesting because that has kind of been phased out, actually, around the big leagues. The Yankees are the only team, I think, now that have an old-timers day. And what great organization than the Yankees to do that with all the famous old-timers that can come back. There's some other games, but I don't know if organizations, there was a period of time where an insurance company sponsored the old-timers games, and every club had one. But I think as the years go by, I think it's fun to, if not in an old-timers game, to have former Marlins come out and participate in pregame things or whatever during the course of the day.
Mike Dunn goes 1-2-3 through the Braves in the 6th.
Y es presentado por KFC.
Cookie and Raul join us. Hi, guys.
Hey, Rich, Tommy, what's up? Hey, Tommy, Rich, how are you guys?
We're doing okay, but we're always a little better off when we see you guys and get to talk to you guys. You doing all right tonight, even though the game's 6-0?
We're trying. I mean, at least look at the positives. We're watching a good pitcher here perform, but it's just frustrating. Just everything that's been going on this homestand specifically, they're just not being able to get these here. They're not getting any hits at all, but at least yesterday they had opportunities.
Hey, we've been talking about the new ballpark. Do you think you guys will have a nice sap booth?
Oh, that'd be awesome.
In the new ballpark?
Well, I don't care if we're inside the fountain over there. As long as we're there, who cares, Tommy? That's a beautiful ballpark, Tommy.
Let's go out to Cookie and Raul in the fountain
That's
in
right.
center field. That reminds me of one of my favorite Cookie Rojas stories. And
is it the rain delay story?
No, it's the story of when the Royals finally got to the postseason and he and Freddie Patek went swimming in the fountain in Kansas City.
That is right. I promised that when I came over from St. Louis. You know, I saw the type of ball club that we were. You know, young club, you know, getting better and better every year. I said, the first time that we ever win the division, I'm going to go to center field and jump in the fountain. And Tommy and Richie, it's the truth. You know, there was 38,000 people there. The ball game was over on a Sunday. Nobody moved because they have said that before, I guess, in the radio and the TV. So Freddie Patek come over. He had sat next to me on the bench. You know, we started walking to the fence, and we walked right on top of the fence to center field. The people were going crazy. And then we finally turned around. We saluted the fans all over the place, and then we jumped in. You
jumped
know,
in full uniform, everything.
Yeah, everything. Absolutely. So I promise you that we go to the World Series, I'll jump in the fountain in that new stadium.
Oh, okay.
Right here first.
Let's do it, man.
All right, I'll go with you.
All right.
All right.
Nice.
You got it.
Have a good show, guys.
You too, guys.
Thanks, you too. Bueno.
When in doubt, pull out your best Cookie Rojas story.
Pretty good double play combination.
Yeah.
Cookie Rojas and Freddie Patek.
I wonder if anybody in Kansas City has footage of it. I mean, that's, if you could get that, that's 10-run reel gold. Now, the problem was back then, there weren't that many games
at that point
on television.
And the game was over at that point. So, yeah.
It would have to be from like a news station or something.
Somebody with a cell phone fit. Oh, well, never mind. They didn't have those.
Super 8 movie.
Yeah. That's on the black and white reel.
See, if that happened in this day and age, you just YouTube it. Bonifacio hustling, and he beat it. Emilio Bonifacio legs out at infield hit. Ugla made a strong throw and a nice play. It's just the third hit against Tim Hudson tonight.
Shows you the kind of speed that Bonifacio has, because Ugla did everything required. Got to the ball, strong throw, planted quickly.
Wow,
boy, that's close.
That is.
That's close.
Here's Alfredo Ameziga. And Hudson misses away. Alfredo's 0 for 2. He's bounced out and struck out. Braves knocking Anibal Sanchez out. Sanchez could not get through the second inning. And that's all Tim Hudson needed, was an early lead, and he's been on cruise control ever since.
We're talking about some of Hudson's career accomplishments. 200 innings 7 times. Good chance he'll do that this year. 11 times, 11 wins or more. And then he had that 20-win season with the Athletics back in 2000.
One and 2 to Alfredo Ameziga. Well, with Oakland, Hudson was incredible. He was 92 and 39 with a slender 3.30 ERA in 183 starts from 1999 through 2004. There's a good ground ball. Gonzo to the bag. There's one. There's two. And Hudson gets a double play. And the Marlins are finished here in the 6th. 7th inning coming up. It's been all Hudson and all Braves tonight.
Baseball as we move along to the 7th. It's always great to run into former Marlins, especially a quality guy like this guy, Kurt Abbott, who's here with Jeff Conine tonight. And hard to believe, probably, Kurt, you played for the Marlins 94 to 97, played in the World Series, that there's only 18 more games left in this stadium's history, which I guess is, a big part of your life is this stadium right here.
I know, it was just brought to my attention tonight. Jeff was like, hey, I got to go down and tear down number 19. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, there's only 19 more games left in the stadium. And after tonight's game, there's going to be 18. But, what memories. And from what I hear, that stadium down there is just going to bring light to South Florida and their fans. So really excited.
It's going to be exciting. Well, you hit 17 homers, your career high with the Marlins in the mid-90s. Of course, the World Series. That would have to be, I guess, the most exciting thing. When you think of one moment, is it the rental where you hit? What is it? Hit you at?
No, you know what? It was a Renteria hit, winning the World Series here. My 2 inside the park home runs that caromed out there. Just, everything put together. You start your whole major league career here, and then it, carrying on to another team after the World Series. But, it just is. It's a place that you have good thoughts here, and they're moving on. But I'm really excited to take my son and possibly my family all the way down to the new stadium.
A little bit further, Kurt is a deputy, as we've had actually pieces on him with the Martin County Sheriff's Office. Have you ever been in a situation where somebody didn't know you were the baseball player, and it came around maybe after the arrest? Oh, you're that Kurt Abbott, Officer Abbott.
No, I haven't. Not during an arrest. During a traffic citation, yes. But
well, what happened to the citation? What happened?
it was just. So you are the ex-Major League Baseball player? I was like, yes, ma'am, I am. And it's like, well, it's nice meeting you this way. I'm very enthused. So, but obviously,
here's your ticket.
Obviously not happy, but I have fun doing the job I'm doing now. I'm working at a high school and getting involved with the baseball program at the high school. So that's going to be that's an exciting moment and in my career as a law enforcement.
All right, we're going to see you the last game of the year. You're going to be down here?
Hopefully I can get that day off on a Thursday. So always nice seeing you, Craig.
Right. You too, buddy.
You never seem to look any older. I mean, you don't age.
You're not looking close enough. It's a makeup, too. What shape, too? It looks like you can go hit another 17 home runs for the Marlins. Take care, Kurt.
You got it, Craig. Thank you.
Back to you guys.
Kurt Abbott. He's a hard-nosed player. One of Jim Leland's favorites.
Eric Hinsky at the plate. Mike Dunn working on him. A 3-2 pitch coming, and he lost him. Missed up high with a fastball. And Dan Uggla strides up. The drama of Dan Uggla's hit streak expired pretty quickly in this one when Uggla hit the first pitch he saw in the center field for a 2-run single in the first. And of course the Braves were off and rolling. Atlanta had a 2-0 lead in that first and then pushed across 3 more runs in the second. The big hit in the second was Hinsky's 2-run double. And Uggla fouls it back and out of play. Padres and Mets have arrived in the 7th. It's 6-3 San Diego. Milwaukee leading St. Louis by 2, 3-1 in the 4th in St. Louis. We told you earlier the Phillies won today, a comeback win 9-8 against the Dodgers. And the Pirates beat the Giants 9-2 in San Francisco. With that win last night, Milwaukee a 4-game lead over St. Louis going into play tonight.
You know, you try to break down things into box scores looking at that game. And this is an area that Milwaukee has improved. They finished that game 4 shutout innings from their bullpen between Saito, K-Rod, Hawkins, and then Axford finishing things off.
Chevy brings you the National League East standings. So the Phillies are now an impressive 77-40. Mets back over 500. Marlins in the basement. They had climbed out of the basement, gotten to 500. Remember, they won the 2 games against the Mets up in New York, and came back home. Were swept in 4 by St. Louis and are on the verge of being swept in 3 by the Braves, which would plummet the Marlins back to the depths of 7 under.
Boy, as we've talked about too, no easy task when the Giants come to town this weekend.
2-2.
Friday matchup, Ricky Nolasco against Matt Cain. Saturday, Javi Vasquez against Tim Lincecum, and Brad Hand and Ryan Vogelsong. Vogelsong, a surprise of the year, is 9-2. That's the Sunday matchup.
We've said this a few times, but I think it bears repeating. Uggla fouls it at the plate. The Marlins need to make a decision on Hanley Ramirez because Jack McKeon has gone this entire homestand, this being Game 7, a man short because Hanley can't play with the shoulder injury that he sustained up in New York.
You know, at this point, it's going to take him, even if tomorrow he were able to swing the bat, it still would take him 2 or 3 days to get himself ready, take some good batting practice. And so I'm still amazed that he's still active, so to speak, and hasn't been placed on the disabled list.
Amezaga makes the catch. Here comes Jason Hayward. Yeah, because obviously you want to make sure that when he comes back that he's 100% and he's not going to re-injure it, because that's an injury that he has a history with, that shoulder, and with his swing, the full extension of the left arm, we've seen in his career he has been prone to irritate that. Jack is hopeful that Omar Infante is back on the road trip. I believe he's eligible to come off San Diego.
If he's eligible to come off in San Diego, I believe he'll be ready.
Hayward fouls it back. What do you see with Jason Hayward?
Boy, I see him really tentative. I'm sure his whole approach and psyche is gone in all directions because of the success he had last year, and then all of a sudden dealing with the failures of this year. I mean, a tremendous rookie season last year. Not hitting left-handers at all this year. It's been one area that was a little different for him last year. Hayward against lefties this year, just 14 hits, hitting 167.
Last year his on-base percentage was .393, hit .277, drove in 72 runs, had 18 homers. His on-base percentage now, after an 0 for 3 night, down probably around 313, 312.
Kind of see a guy feeling for the ball, and I don't know how much that right shoulder injury plays into this.
Dunn misses up and in. It's 3-2. I think if you're the Braves, you have the luxury of a 68-49 record and a team around Hayward that you can try to nurse him back to productivity here. Give him some spot starts, and you know, with Constanza and his great run, Constanza's been getting a lot of time, and Hayward all of a sudden has been coming off the bench.
Well, you're right, and I think, Rich, when it's all said and done, when the Braves get to postseason, they would rather have Jason Hayward in that lineup than Jose Constanza. And that's nothing against Constanza, but Hayward gives him another perspective. But then again, Constanza gives him one too, with speed.
Struck him out. Hayward has been caught looking 3 times. And you can see that he's really flustered. He thought that was the final out of the inning. He dropped his helmet and his bat like the inning was over. Watch him.
Boy, it's a slider right down the middle of the plate, and I think he was thinking fastball. Yeah, he was getting ready to look up and get his glove, go out to the outfield.
That tells me that young man's got an awful lot on his mind.
Yeah, the head's in too many places. Very frustrating, but Freddie told us yesterday that he's been pleased with the way he's handled things.
Off the end of the bat, little soft liner. It's going to drop into center field. Alex Gonzalez has his first hit of the night.
Well, his first hit extends his hitting streak.
There you
11
go.
games.
Look out, Dan Uggla. Here's David Ross, who has walked, doubled, and struck out. Ross is a great example of, to get to the postseason, you need the David Rosses and the Eric Hinskys. Last year, the Omar Infantes, the guys that aren't the frontline guys for the Braves that contribute.
Yeah, and Ross knows when he gets to postseason, he probably won't play much. Maybe in the World Series. In the American League City. Maybe. But he knows his job is valuable, and so do the Braves. You mentioned it last night. He signed to a 2-year contract.
Just thinking that Kurt Abbott was one of those type of guys. He was a Hinsky, David Ross type guy in that '97 season.
couple of guys instrumental in that season. Cross slider.
Goes after the breaking ball. Dunn finishes off the Braves in the 7th in a 6-0 Atlanta lead. Alex Gonzalez. Look at the special effects and the production quality put into this. And a high quality play as well. Of course, like freeze can. It's the bottom of the 7th. The Marlins in the throes of an awful homestand right now. They lost 4 to the Cardinals. They've lost the first 2 to the Atlanta Braves. And Tim Hudson is sticking it in the Marlins' ear right now. Right now, a 3-hit shutout. In the bottom of the 7th, Greg Dobbs, Mike Stanton, and Gabby Sanchez. Dobbs takes a strike. Hudson has done all of this with just 83 pitches.
Coming into this inning, he's recorded 10 outs via the ground ball through the first 6 innings. No walks. And we mentioned his last 6 starts, he's gone 7 or more innings. So he's trying to do that here tonight as well.
Dobbs spins out of the way. Hudson elevates, and Dobbs goes down swinging. With all of the injured players here today, a chance to catch up with them and find out exactly where they are in their rehab. Chris Coughlin dealing with the elbow injury now. In talking to Chris, he felt that the elbow was apparently a piece of cartilage that is loose in the elbow, and that probably happened from overcompensating for the shoulder pain that he had. Remember that in spring training? John Baker had Tommy John surgery on September 2nd of last year. He is hitting, catching bullpens, playing catch.
I think the one thing that Baker learned throughout this is that as much as you want to get back and start playing, there's a period of time that Tommy John surgery takes.
Yeah, he was playing minor league games in May and felt pain, shut it down, and started his rehab all over again. And Baker's goal is to start playing rehab games in late August, get a week's worth of those in, and hopefully be with the big club in September, because certainly the Marlins could use another left-handed bat, especially one as experienced as John Baker's.
Yeah, and I talked to Scott Cousins, who's had the back issues, which turned out to be a lot worse than he and everyone else thought. And he hopes in a couple of weeks to be playing in some minor league games.
Gabby Sanchez is flied out and bounced out. And Hudson misses up and in.
When you watch Tim Hudson, at least I do anyway, it reminds me so much of the way Greg Maddux approached the game.
Gabby hits a monstrously high fly ball. Constanza, bobbing and weaving, makes the catch and feeds the folks up in left field the souvenir. Club card at the stadium box office starting 2 hours prior to any Marlins home game. Get a $10 discount on up to 8 infield box seats. Offer cannot be combined and is subject to availability. Miccosukee Resort and Gaming. Get in the game. Randy Choate is the next man out of the bullpen. Choate's numbers this year, it's been a pass the baton kind of night for the pen after Anibal Sanchez went just an inning and 2/3. Burke Badenhop for 3 1/3. Mike Dunn a couple of innings, and now Choate. Here's Constanza, and he takes outside.
I think the good news about this is that with the off day tomorrow, everybody will have a chance to regroup. Pitchers down the bullpen will have a chance to rest up a little bit. That's trouble.
That's the third one he's hit, and he's got a base hit on every one of them. That chop over the mound. So 3 hits for Constanza, and they've all ended up out there behind the mound.
3 hits, and he hasn't hit one out of the infield.
Well, that's a dimension. You know, you made the point that ideally the Braves would like Jason Hayward to be in their lineup once they get to the postseason, but not the Jason Hayward they've got right now.
No.
I mean, if you were to start the postseason,
if you're going to do it right now, you'd start it with Constanza.
That's right. I mean, because you could run Jason Hayward out there, but he's not the guy that he was or will be, most expect, right now. Hudson squares the bunt. And he takes a strike.
Then, as I mentioned before, you get into the World Series in the American League City. You could DH a McCann and have Ross catch, or you could have Constanza as a DH. Throw him in there in the lineup. Hit him ninth.
Braves are going to have to go through some pretty good teams to get there.
To get there, yeah, they are. They're not thinking that. We can throw that out there, but they're not thinking that.
Freddie Gonzalez in his first year. It's 0-2. That would mean a lot to the Braves franchise and to Freddie Gonzalez. To, the torch has been passed. It's one thing to pass the torch. It's another thing to take that torch and keep the race running, keep it going. And there's such a legacy of postseason from the guy that he took over, Bobby Cox.
Well, and it would mean a lot to Bobby Cox because Bobby and Freddie have been friends for a number of years.
Hudson slaps one to the right side. Amezaga resigned to get the out at first. And up comes Michael Bourne. The Giants are here on Friday. They lost 3 consecutive series at home with that loss to the Pirates today. And the Pirates beat them substantially today. That wasn't a typical Giants game where it was, especially in San Francisco, where it's 2-1 or 3-2.
But one area in their rotation where they've had some problems has been Jonathan Sanchez, the lefty who started today.
Marlins certainly had their share of embarrassing baseball injuries last year. Chris Coughlin, the knee injury with the pieing of Wes Helms. Ricky Nolasco injuring his knee, pulling on his shoe. Brewers left-hander Chris Narvison's been placed on the 15-day disabled list after he cut the thumb of his pitching hand with scissors while working on his glove. Apparently he raked his thumb across the screw that held the scissors together.
Usually you let the equipment man or trainer, it's usually one of those guys, likes to work on gloves. But I guess Narvison had some time.
Bourne goes after a breaking ball, and Choate strikes him out.
Remember those, I'm sure it has a name, an actual name that it looks like a screwdriver, but it's just a sharp point that you can use for holes, and you use it to thread the leather in a glove. There was a catcher years ago, a minor league guy, who was using that and stabbed himself. He was injury prone. What's that thing called?
An awl?
An awl. Okay. Shows you how much I know about tools.
About the time Jack McKeon was managing the Oakland Athletics, they had an injury-prone third baseman by the name of Mickey Klutz.
I remember the name.
He was always running into walls.
And it fit.
I don't know if Jack specifically managed Mickey Klutz, but I remember him from that era. Martin Prado at the plate. Prado 2 for 4, scored a couple runs. And the Marlins figure, what the heck, let's just put Prado on and let Choate take his luck with Eric Hinske.
Yeah, let him do what he does best, go after a left-handed hitter. In this situation, Jack probably figures, and he figured correctly, that Freddie wasn't going to pinch hit for Hinske.
Well, we've been searching for a checkers double of the game, and Eric Hinske, driving home 2, is bestowed that honor. For that, he'll be appearing in a promotional spot with myself and Dwayne Stats. It's a pitch to Hinske, and it's outside. 1-0. On FoxSports.com, they have a list of the lamest baseball injuries.
This year or all time?
Looks like all time. It's one of those slideshows. It starts with Zach Greinke and the fractured rib while playing pickup basketball in the offseason. I'm sure Chris Coughlin's on there somewhere. It's 2-1. Who was the pitcher that injured himself while trying to iron his shirt while he was wearing it?
I believe that was John Smoltz,
wasn't it?
Yeah.
Bonifacio behind the bag. Flips on over to first, and Hinske is out. 6-0. Atlanta. That's what the Marlins have been seeing all night long. Hudson has been dominant. His ball club gave him early runs, a 6-0 lead, and as we expected, he has locked that lead down, and he takes it into the bottom of the 8th inning. Rich Waltz along with Tommy Hutton, Craig Minervini, Jeff Conine, AJ Speaks is our producer, Jim Holly our director, Ken Lee our graphics coordinator.
I think a good illustration of the type of pitcher Hudson is. he's a sinker ball guy, but if you noticed in that clip we showed the strikeout of Greg Dobbs, it's where he wanted to throw that pitch. He wanted to get that pitch up in the zone.
By the way, in perusing that list on FoxSports.com of strangest baseball injuries, even Logan Morrison's hero is on that list. George Brett. As a player with the Kansas City Royals, he was at home doing laundry, and he had the Cubs game on in the other room. And according to this story, he heard the announcer say that Bill Buckner was coming up, and that was one of Brett's favorite players. And he ran into the room to see the at-bat, and he hit his foot on the door jamb and broke his toe.
Wonder if he ever told Buckner that story.
Put him on the disabled list. I mean, there's some Hall of Fame players that have had goofy injuries. Morrison fouls off. Tony Gwynn fractured a finger when he slammed his car door on his own hand. Tom Glavine broke a rib when he threw up an in-flight meal on an airplane back in '92. Morrison gets into that one, drives it to right center field. That ball's deep. That ball's gone. And the Marlins finally have a run, 17th of the season for Morrison, and a Coast Guard salute for his late father Tom when he gets to home plate.
Tell you what, this ball is absolutely hammered because that's a long way out there over that Geico sign. And it was pretty much a no-doubter in that area.
Our Gunther Volkswagen drive of the game. So Morrison now with 17 homers and 59 driven in. A two-hit night. This is the pitcher's spot, and Wes Helms gets the at-bat.
Well, Logan Morrison took care of the possible shutout, too. Back on May 4th, Hudson had a complete game one-hitter against Milwaukee.
Helms pops it to first. Hinske makes the catch. Helms and Hudson may be opposing each other here, but come the fall, they'll be buddies again. They share season tickets to the Auburn Tiger football games. Always have a big tailgate going on before the games. Here's Buck. You want some more weird injuries?
Yeah, actually, we're going along pretty well with that, because when you were talking about that, we saw some base hits. So the Lomo home run, now a John Buxton. Go ahead, fire some more out there.
Oh, there's the Smoltz confirmed. It was Smoltz who burned his chest ironing a shirt he was wearing. Although Smoltz denies that account, so we'll have to ask him. Who can forget Marty Cordova falling asleep in a tanning bed in 2002 and the resulting burns forcing him to miss a few day games because the doctor said stay out of the sun for a while, will you? Vince Coleman getting eaten by the tarp in '85. That was not a good thing for St. Louis.
That was during the playoffs.
The injury forced him to miss the World Series, which the Cardinals lost in 7 games.
I don't know if fans remember, I believe in 2 ballparks, in Pittsburgh and in St. Louis, they had the automatic, that the tarp would pop up and it would automatically roll over the infield.
Like one of those automatic pool covers.
Yeah, yeah. And he was running in from the outfield after batting practice. Rain started to come down, and the tarp caught up to him.
Brian Peterson's up. 6-1 Braves on top. Sammy Sosa strained his back after a sneeze.
I think a lot of people have done that.
Wade Boggs hurt his back pulling on cowboy boots. Remember Milton Bradley injuring his knee when Bud Black was trying to keep him from an argument
over by the first base coach's box.
The Glenn Allen Hill story, always a good one. And
That was always one in question.
The fear of spiders. He apparently fell out of bed and crashed into a glass table while having a nightmare.
If we could confirm that, we'll see Glenn Allen Hill. Isn't he a first base coach with the Rockies?
Yeah, we can, but you know what? He may not. There are some baseball injuries, and oftentimes it's the slipped in the shower at the hotel. And the guy had a black eye, and you're wondering, well, wait a minute.
So you have to be more creative, is what you're saying.
Yeah, well, that's really creative. Fear of spiders.
Well, he gets credit just for coming up with that.
Arachnophobia?
Arachnophobia, yeah.
Joel Zumaya strained a muscle while playing Guitar Hero in '06. Peterson walks. Freddie Gonzalez pacing right now. Tim Hudson is 105 pitches in. Here's Bonifacio now. A home run by Logan Morrison. A single by John Buck. And Peterson's walk. Breaking ball for a strike. Kevin Mitchell once broke a tooth after biting into a chocolate donut that he had put in the freezer too long.
And if you saw Kevin Mitchell in the latter stages of his career, you'd really believe that one.
Here's the 0-1 pitch. Bonifacio fouls it back. Some of the injuries aren't so funny. The Kendry Morales injury has cost him a couple of seasons.
Couple of years, yeah.
Celebrating the walk-off homer and breaking his ankle at home plate. Here's the 0-2. Bonifacio lines it into center field. That's a base hit. And the bags are loaded. So now you want me to keep reading this list of goofy injuries since the Marlins all of a sudden come to life?
I actually do, because your reading of these injuries has created this rally and has opened things up for Freddie Gonzalez to make a pitching change.
All right, I'll load up some more stories.
Load up. Get ready. Carlos Tosca is.
Double switch coming. Here's a Marooney.
When you need a car, truck or van, who you gonna call? Marooney!
Logan Morrison with a home run to start the inning. And after Wes Helms bounced out, John Buck a single, Brian Peterson a walk, and Emilio Bonifacio a single.
You saw in the double switch, Freddie Freeman into the game at first base, and the veteran left-hander George Sherrill comes in to try to bail Tim Hudson out of this. Sherrill worked an 8th inning, or the 10th inning, 1, 2, 3, 10th inning last night.
So here's Amezaga. He's 0 for 3. It will be interesting to see if the Marlins are able to get close, within a couple of runs. If
I know where you're going.
If in fact the Braves use their closer Craig Kimbrell tonight, because he's worked in 3 consecutive, and I want to say 4 of the last 5. Here's the 0-1. Amezaga, diving stop. Prado got it out there. Marlins get a run. Martin Prado, a terrific play, robbing Amezaga of a hit and probably saving a run, because you had the fast runner Peterson at second base.
Yeah, this is at least a base hit, probably 1, maybe 2 RBIs. And Prado, as we said earlier, it doesn't matter where you put him, third base, second base, left field, comes up with a dandy there.
I feel guilty that I didn't get out a goofy injury before that at bat. So I'll give you Grant Balfour of the Rays, who missed some time after suffering a rib strain while wrestling with his pitching coach, Jim Hickey, before a game.
I think if you'd have gotten that one out, that ball might have gotten through.
There's a strike to Greg Dobbs to look at Peterson at third. Across the diamond, you've got Amezaga.
Well, you'd love to get Mike Stanton to the plate in this inning, too. They have a right-hander warming up.
Dobbs takes strike 2, 0-2. Christian Martinez is the right-hander. That list again is on foxsports.com. Chris Coughlin is 15th on the list. They've got 35 of the top strangest baseball injuries. And Narveson is at 14. That went foul back. And he's the guy that prompted the whole discussion, the Brewers pitcher that cut his thumb trying to fix his glove.
Now, Rich, you were right about Kimbrell. Over the last 7 days, he's pitched in 5 of those games, 73 pitches. So he's been a busy rookie right-hander over the last week.
Whether he's available tonight, we don't know. Still 0-2 on Dobbs. Sherrill misses up.
Braves go home, have a nice day off tomorrow. Then they open up a nice homestand against the Cubs, the Giants, and the Diamondbacks.
Sherrill got him on the 1-2 pitch. So down goes Dobbs. Marlins settle for 2. Still down 4 going to the 9th. On top of the Marlins.
Nice shot there. Rob Wilson of the Miami Heat. A lot of media relations staff there. They're not going anywhere. They're going to stay for the remainder of this game. Good baseball fan.
Wes Helms stays in the ball game. Helms is at third base. Steve Cishek. It has been a committee effort by the pen on a night where the Marlins got a very short start from Anibal Sanchez. And much like last night, the bullpen has pitched well. Burke Badenhop gave up a run in 3 1/3, but then you've got a couple scoreless in the books from Mike Dunn. Randy Choate, a scoreless 8th. And here is Cishek against Ugla. A lot of storylines in this ball game, and Ugla certainly will be a headline grabber. Ugla's streak now at 31 games. Liner to left. Lomo did not make the catch. Morrison made a dive. Let's hope the knee is okay. Remember, he's playing with the 6 stitches in that deep gash.
He got there in time, but the ball caught him on the heel, up on the wrist area. Catchable, but a base hit for Ugla.
So Ugla's got 3 hits tonight.
Jason Hayward, the only Atlanta Brave in this starting lineup that hasn't gotten a hit. And of his 0 for 4, 3 strikeouts.
Hayward drops the hammer on that. Stanton makes the catch. Thought about throwing to first, but Ugla gets back in time. Here comes Gonzalez. All right, back to that goofy baseball list. It's amazing how many big names show up on the list. Joe DiMaggio missed the first 16 games of his rookie season with the Yankees in 36 with first-degree burns on his left foot. He was stepped on during an exhibition game, and when it began to swell, he was given treatment that included placing his foot in a, I've never seen this word before, diathermy machine.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, I couldn't tell you what a diathermy machine is, but I have heard that.
Well, apparently there was heat control involved, and it burned the foot so badly DiMaggio had to have 2 large blisters lanced and then spent 2 days in a hospital.
Yeah, no longer to be found in trainer rooms, I believe, a diathermy machine.
DiMaggio did hit .323 with 29 homers, 125 RBIs.
He got through it all right.
His rookie season. Our good buddy Aaron Boone is on that list. Boone hurt his knee playing pickup basketball.
I don't know if that qualifies as a freak injury, though. That's just an unfortunate injury.
Nolan Ryan once showed up to spring training recovering from a coyote bite. Suffered on his ranch in Texas.
That's one I'm sure Nolan didn't. He's a stand-up guy. But that's one that you could make up if you had a ranch.
It sounds like a tough guy injury, too.
Yeah.
Rattlesnake.
Yeah, I bitten by a rattlesnake when I was on my ranch.
Gonzalez to left. Morrison trudges back and makes the catch. Well, there are 2 outs. Brad Bergeson, Baltimore pitching prospect, had a sore shoulder suffered when he overthrew while appearing in an Orioles commercial in the offseason.
That's always a tough one. Trying to help out the ball club in a commercial. What was the one? And it turned out to be a bogus injury. That Jeff Kent.
Oh, he
was washing his truck.
Yeah, he was actually, I think, riding his motorcycle.
Yeah, when in fact he was actually riding a motorcycle.
Doing wheelies or something like that. That may be on the list. I'm not to the bottom
but he
of it
fessed
yet.
up to that.
Not until someone called him on it. 6-2 Atlanta. South Florida, when you need a car, truck, or van, who are you going to call? 1-877-MAROONY. And by Florida Health Plan, Coventry Healthcare of Florida, lighting the way to better health. (6-2), bottom 9. The Braves on top of the Marlins. And the Braves are going to bring in Arodys Vizcaíno to make his Major League debut. He replaced Scott Proctor on the roster.
A very interesting lineage to Vizcaíno in his arrival to this juncture, making his Major League debut out of the Dominican Republic. But he was acquired by the Braves along with Melky Cabrera and Mike Dunn from the Yankees in the deal that sent Javi Vasquez to the Yankees.
It all comes back around, doesn't it? Dunn has appeared in the game. Vasquez is here. And here is Stanton. No Melky Cabrera, though, tonight.
Will not turn 21 until November.
Wow.
Vizcaíno. And has made all the stops this year. He's been A-ball, AA, AAA. And here he is.
He's 2-0 on Mike Stanton. Stanton, Gabby Sanchez, Logan Morrison in a game started by Tim Hudson. Hudson lasted 7 1/3. George Sherrill came in and finished the 8th. Vizcaíno finding the strike zone a little smaller here than in all of those stops up the ladder.
He was in Lynchburg, then he went to AA, then Gwinnett, their AAA affiliate.
And walked Stanton, a leadoff walk, and as we've talked about, you know, Freddie Gonzalez would rather not see Craig Kimbrell pitch in this ball game. Here comes Gabby Sanchez. All right, one thing I've learned about all the goofy injuries is that the one was very significant in terms of player contracts. and that was the injury to Jim Lonborg. Red Sox pitcher who had the great year in '67.
Yeah, it was after his Cy Young year.
And see, this is how I pictured you spending the winters back in the '60s. He was skiing in Lake Tahoe with actress Jill St. John. Gabby pops it up. And Hayward makes the catch. There's one out. His last run down the slopes, you know, the story would obviously mean a wipeout, and he tore ligaments in his left knee. The injury prompted not only the Red Sox but all major league teams to create what was then known as the Jim Lonborg clause in contracts, in which players were forbidden from participating in various activities deemed dangerous, like skiing and all that. And I think that's why Jeff Kent originally said he was washing his truck, not doing wheelies on his motorcycle.
I think they've added snowboarding to that too.
Well, I'll bet you they've added a whole.
They've added a lot.
A whole bunch. Skydiving.
Jim Lonborg went on to have a tremendous career. Teammates with Jim in Philadelphia, and he is now a successful dentist outside of Boston.
I still think skiing with Jill St. John is more impressive than any of that. 1-1 coming to Logan Morrison. And it's 1-2. Morrison homered against Tim Hudson in the 8th. He singled back in the 2nd. Morrison swings and misses. So there's 2 outs. Number 3 on the list is Jeff Kent, who showed up with a broken wrist, claimed that he suffered the injury while washing his truck, but it eventually surfaced that he fell off his motorcycle while doing wheelies.
You can't leave us hanging. You got to get to number 2 and 1 here real quick.
Steve Sparks dislocating his left shoulder while attempting to tear a phone book in half in the clubhouse, trying to impress teammates. That's number 2. That comes in and hits Helms. And so the Marlins have a couple of base runners. Vizcaino gets a couple of outs. And now here comes Buck, and you'll remember Buck has homered twice in this series.
That's going to prompt the youngster to get a visit from his pitching coach, Roger McDowell.
Number 1 on the list, Braves reliever Cecil Upshaw missed the entire 1970 season after catching his ring on an awning while trying to dunk a basketball.
I guess the question there would be, why was he trying to dunk a basketball on the awning as opposed to a rim?
There's a great honorable mention, though, and it happened to Clarence Bleflin with the Boston Red Sox. He had false teeth. This is back in 1923, and he would put them in his back pocket while he was running the bases. And in 1923 with the Red Sox, he slid into second base, and the false teeth took such a big bite out of his derriere that he was removed from the game because of excessive bleeding. That's it. That's the
that's all we got.
That's all we got, baby. Check it out on foxsports.com. The strangest baseball injuries, which in the throes of a 6-game losing streak can help you out in the late innings. Buck takes a strike. Buck's homer was a dramatic moment for the Marlins, who have been without many of those on this homestand. A 3-run homer in the 7th that tied the game last night. Vizcaíno misses away. One coming. And Buck takes away. As you pointed out, just getting the tying run to the plate would be something for the Marlins to hang their hat on here on a night where all of the momentum started with the Braves and has stayed with the Braves. Dan Uggla's line drive single in the first. It extended his hit streak to 31 games and gave the Braves a 2-0 lead.
Well, the Braves scoring all 6 of their runs in the first 3 innings.
Well, Vizcaíno certainly has a live arm, but I think Freddie has seen enough of it.
Yeah, I think if he loses, I don't think, I know, if he loses John Buck, and with Brian Peterson, left-handed hitter, on deck, he has the lefty Venters warming up.
You saw him come over and talk to Roger McDowell. I'm sure the phone call is Venters ready? That's in. They're loaded, and let's see if the Braves come get the youngster. And Freddie Gonzalez is going to bring in Venters as he tries to shut the door. So Maroney called to the pen.
When you need a car, truck, or van, who you gonna call? Maroney!
Have Brett Hayes pinch hitting for Brian Peterson. So the Marlins are going to at least bring a right-handed bat up to face the dominant lefty Venters. Look at the year that he's having. An all-star. Both he and Kimbrel represented the Braves back of the bullpen in the all-star game, and rightfully so.
Well, that's the luxury that the Braves have. Of course, Kimbrel with 36 saves. Venters has 3, and all you have to do is go back to spring training, where during the spring they may have known all along that it was going to be Kimbrel, but there was a little competition between those two as to who would be the closer.
Hayes takes a strike. Venters pitched a scoreless inning last night. He did not appear on Monday night. Bases loaded. Marlins got 2 runs in the 8th. Threatening here in the 9th, but down 6-2 and down to their last out. One and one. Hayes fouls it back. Now the Marlins are down to their last strike.
Live fastball. He has a couple of weapons. I mean, he can throw that again, or he likes to righties. Just bury that slider on that back foot, down and in. Hard pitch to lay off of.
One-two coming. Struck him out, and the ball game is over. The Marlins' losing streak is stretched to 7, and the Braves come in and sweep the Fish. Atlanta is now 6-0 in this ballpark this year, and the Braves improved to 69-49. Impressive stuff. Dan Uggla's hit streak is at 31. Marlins Live is coming up.